Poverty and unemployment are prevalent problems and have been increasingly prominent in society over the years in the U.S. Poverty is defined as the state of lacking a socially accepted normal amount of money or possessions. Unemployment draws a direct correlation with poverty and the damaging spiral of stagflation that ultimately results in an economic crash that leads into recession. One of poverty's main causes is actually that of unemployment. As the unemployment rate rises in America, the poverty rate heightens with it. With less jobs available, many people are out of work and make little to no money. This in turn causes them to spend less money on goods, ultimately hurting America's economy. This is defined as cyclical unemployment. Other types of unemployment are frictional and structural unemployment. Frictional unemployment is always present in the U.S., as this is when people are moving from one job to another in a short amount of time, which is not a very big issue that needs to be dealt with. Structural unemployment is defined as when there are either too many people looking for jobs that are qualified and not enough jobs, or the other way around, with there being not enough qualified people for the amount of jobs needed. Recently, this type of unemployment has been a large problem due to the rise of new jobs involving technology. Because of all the problems that arise with unemployment, the government makes frequent attempts at stopping unemployment or lowering the unemployment rate percentage. Presidents especially try to implement different programs to lower the unemployment and poverty rates, which go hand in hand. Dwight D. Eisenhower, for example, created the Federal Highway Act in 1957 when the unemployment rate passed 5%. Normally, when the unemployment rate passes the 5%, the government and the president especially steps in. The Federal Highway Act authorized the construction of an interstate highway system, which put many jobless Americans to work. JFK also attempted to deal with the high unemployment rate in 1961 by expanding Social Security. This lowered the unemployment rate by around 2.2%.
The unemployment rate rises during recessions and obviously falls during prosperity. When there's slow growth in the economy, unemployment rises because companies lay off workers as the GDP or gross domestic product declines. As employees are dismissed, this leads to less consumer spending, which in turn brings in less revenue to businesses. As businesses aren't making as much money, they have to lower prices so consumers will buy them, only because many families cannot afford things. Jobs have also changed dramatically throughout the years, with managers and owners being more prominent than farmers with men, while secretaries and clerical workers are becoming more prominent than just a household worker with women. Changing jobs has a correlation with unemployment since the economy and society is always changing, so people need different types of jobs that are not always available to everyone because many are not as fortunate as others. Unemployment was first recorded in 1929 during the stock market crash and the Great Depression with an unemployment rate of 24.9%, the highest ever recorded. The lowest unemployment rate ever recorded was in 1944 at 1.2% due to Bretton Woods, which created the IMF and World Bank, which set up a system of fixed exchange rates with the US dollar as the international reserve currency. The whole nation is affected by the changing of jobs, poverty, and unemployment. The Census Bureau found that the poverty rate has only dropped from about 19% to about 15% from 1964 to 2012. When the unemployment rate reaches 6%, the government steps in. First, the Federal Reserve uses expansionary monetary policy and lowers the federal funds rate in the hopes that banks will invest more in businesses and banks can begin to expand, thus needing to hire more people. If unemployment continues, Congress uses fiscal policy to directly create jobs for public works projects, stimulate demand by providing extended unemployment benefits, and cut taxes for businesses and individuals to increase overall spending, although it increases inflation.
Extreme poverty takes a toll on America's social and economic status as a whole. Families in poverty are stuck in a situation in which it is hard to recover from, due in part to the fact of the heavy payments and taxes put on them from the federal government. One of the main impacts that this has on the American people is that this impacts them on finding a stable job. There are also many factors that can apply to this. Depending on your race and ethnicity, this would also mean trouble for you to find a job depending on your employers. The rates for finding a job varied. It was 12.9% if you were a teenager, 3.6% if you were white, 6.6% if you were black, 2.6% if you were Asian, and 4.8% if you were Hispanic. There are many of these people applying for jobs, but to no avail. Some people throughout the United States believe that there are no jobs actually looking for them to hire. These people are what is known as discouraged workers. Some of these people don't search for work due to emotional status, education and schooling, or even family emergencies or responsibilities that they need to attend to. The people that are jobless for 27 weeks or more are known as long-term unemployed persons. These people accounted for 20% of the unemployed population in the United States. The number of 340,000 was the new number of the long-term unemployed at the end of the year. These situations and also mindsets decreased their chances for finding steady work immensely. It was all due in part to the fact that there are so many people waiting out on the streets of the United States waiting to take their spot. Also, there is a huge impact on education. Education suffers immensely in areas of high poverty. Education is affected by the school's access to teachers and learning equipment, and also high poverty areas cannot afford that same quality of education offered in wealthy communities. Therefore, the impacts of the unemployment on the United States population drastically affect our youthful culture and even our adult culture today.
Monetary and fiscal policy are two of the primary solutions to unemployment and poverty. Monetary policy is controlled by the Federal Reserve Bank of the U.S., independent central bank with the goal of controlling the country's money supply. This policy is quick and effective. Reduced interest rates allow families to borrow things they need, such as money, cars, and homes. This stimulates the economy enough to restart growth. This also allows businesses to hire more workers and put people to work. If monetary policy does not fix the economy, the federal government will step in. This is called fiscal policy. The solution takes more time due to the tedious steps that have to be agreed on by both Congress and the President, but can be more effective overall. This policy includes cutting taxes to allow for an increase in spending, which, in turn, creates more demand. As a result, people can afford more and business can spend more money on investments and hiring more workers. Additionally, this policy increases government spending to hire employees directly. More jobs are available within the government itself. The only downside to this policy is that it can possibly add to government debt. The closer this debt is to equaling 100% of the economy's domestic product, the more the economy suffers and slows. Dollar for dollar, there are more specific solutions that can be more cost-effective for the economy. An Amherst study concluded that the construction of mass transit is the most cost-effective method of creating jobs. For every $1 billion spent on public transport, 19,795 jobs are created. Second most cost-effective is unemployment benefits. Every $1 billion spent on unemployment benefits creates 19,000 jobs. This is because the extra money going to the unemployed people allows them to spend more money on necessities like food, clothing, or housing. This results in a $1.46 stimulation in demand for every dollar spent. The solution is very fast and efficient. The government has to simply write a check directly to the economy. In 2008, unemployment programs paid benefits of over $34.9 billion to 8 million unemployed citizens. The outcome was an economic growth of $16.4 billion. Funding of education is the next best solution to poverty and unemployment. Every $1 billion going towards hiring teachers adds another $1.3 billion to the economy as a whole. This helps kids get a better education and a better future, allowing them to spend more money, which also contributes to the economic growth. The final and most popular fiscal solution is tax cuts. This isn't the most cost-effective compared to the other options. Every $1 billion in cuts provides 10,779 jobs for the unemployed, as opposed to the unemployment benefits in which the recipients spend every dime. People usually only spend about half the money saved from tax cuts. This means that it is deleterious to the economy because every dollar spent only yields 59 cents in economic growth. More possible solutions are available. Aside from these current solutions, there are possible ones that could be implemented. One possible solution is simply creating more jobs. Jobs could be created rebuilding our infrastructure, development of new technology and renewable resources, and other minor opportunities for jobs that eventually add up. Every $1 in benefits that goes to the unemployment creates over $1.50 in economic growth. Another possibility is to raise the minimum wage. The current minimum wage is $7.50. A raise of just $3 would raise over 4 million families out of poverty. Finally, modifying work schedules and adding more flexibility. Low wage and long hours make it difficult for people to work while also having enough time for important things such as family and errands.